So I wanted to talk about one of my daily practices, which is trying to keep my mind balanced. And every day I work on this. And one of the things that can pull my mind out of balance is when I read the news. Yeah, especially lately, I would say. um, so, when we read the news, it can evoke a lot of emotions, fearful, getting discouraged, um, pardon? Outraged, yeah. Many things can come up, yeah. And if I sit at the computer and just passively kind of read, let it, feed into me, then it really has the result of making my mind quite imbalanced. Because, what we attend to becomes our reality. So it's up to me to keep my mind balanced. And so one of the ways that I do that is to reflect on the kindness of others. And that always works. And so if I think about how I could do that today, well, many people have come today for offering service Saturday just out of their kindness and are helping in so many ways with such generosity, feeding us, cleaning the forest, helping with the garden, helping with the videos and computer things, many other things, I'm sure. And so when I reflect on these actions, it helps to balance my mind because I'm seeing reality a little clearer. Also, this last week, we've had the young adult program, and again, many of the young adults that came, strangers to us, first day, jump in, start offering service, helping, just out of their kindness. Just, quite beautiful. If I think about when I'm looking at the news, I make myself look for stories that reflect the kindness of others to help rebalance my mind. And there were two stories this last week that were quite extraordinary, I thought, and very, very helpful to my mind. And I just wanted to share those. So the first one happened in Florida last weekend. A woman and her family were on a beach in Panama City, Florida, and her two sons were in the water. They were 10 and 11, I think, and the mom realized that they were out of sight, couldn't see them. So she ran down to the water and started yelling for them and started hearing screaming and crying coming from them. And so she immediately jumped into the water and swam out to where they were. Once she got out there, she couldn't get back in because they were all stuck in a riptide. That was what the problem was. As she was out there trying to get them back, 9 other people jumped in, went out there to try and help, also got caught in the riptide and were flailing in the water, all getting quite tired. Even the kid's grandmother, who was 67, went out in the water and was trying to help. So there was a young woman and her boyfriend on the beach, and this young woman said, "We will save them. We have to help them." And so started looking for ropes and couldn't find any. There were no ropes. There were no lifeguards on the beach, and I guess somebody had called the, I don't know what, police or whatever it was, and they were going to send a rescue boat apparently, but nothing showed up, and these people were getting quite exhausted out in the water, So this woman named Jessica said, well, we don't have a rope, but we can make one. And so she started organizing people to link hands and start going out into the water. There were 80 people that linked hands and went out into the water. She was the last one. She was a very good swimmer, and she would get a person, bring them to the link, the first link in the chain, and then they would bring the people back. So all of the people were saved. All of these people strangers, and just from the kindness of all of these people, great tragedy was averted. So that was a lovely example of how people coming together and doing something quite extraordinary. The other story that caught my eye that helps to balance my mind after I read some of the news is a story that was about Eunice Kennedy Shriver. She was honored this last week for her amazing work in developing the Special Olympics. And her son, Timothy, accepted the award. She had died back in 2009. But she was extraordinary, especially at the time when she got this all going. It was in the late 50s, early 60s. And she had a sister whose name was Rosemary, who was intellectually disabled. And the Kennedys, in that family, they all treated Rosemary as equal, and they were very athletic and did many kinds of sports, and Rosemary was right involved in all of that. And Eunice realized that many people that had this disability at that time were put in institutions, kind of locked away, nothing, really done with them much, and wasted lives, of course, and suffering, tremendously. So she had the idea that she was going to invite kids to come to her home, and she called it Camp Shriver. And so many kids came for the summer, and they taught them how to ride horses, they taught them how to swim, they did volleyball and baseball and, all of these different sports. And she could see from that experience how they started blossoming and really started growing and thriving, in really a good way. That was in 1962 when she started that. And so in 1968 was the first International Special Olympics game that was held in Chicago, Illinois. And her remarks at the opening ceremony, she said that these Special Olympics proved a very fundamental fact that children with intellectual disabilities can be exceptional athletes, and through sports they can realize their potential for growth. And she pledged to organize this Special Olympics and to help people all over the world to be able to grow and thrive. And so this really began as just this one person's vision, and now it is an international global movement. It serves more than 4.7 million people with intellectual disabilities in 170 countries. So we can see the kindness of others is quite powerful, and one person's vision can make a huge difference in this world. And it reminds me of a quote by His Holiness. He says, never give up. No matter what is going on, never give up. Develop the heart. Too much energy in your country is spent developing the mind instead of the heart. Be compassionate. Not just to your friends, but to everyone. Be compassionate. Work for peace in your heart and in the world. Work for peace. And I say again, never give up. No matter what is going on around you, never give up. And so we can see from these two stories, these people had great difficulty, one quite quickly with the beach story. You have to do something sooner, people will drown and die. That person didn't give up. She said, we're going to save these people, period, end of story. Then with Eunice, she was going to make a difference in the lives of people, and she didn't give up. She had such pushback for many years, and she kept to what she was going to do. And look at the result. So we can take heart in that and help balance our minds with the, really negative and discouraging things we read in the news. We can train ourselves to look for these kinds of stories to help balance our mind and get a true sense of what reality is, because it isn't just this one-sided, negative, hopeless stuff that goes on. And so let's make an effort to do that so we can keep a balanced mind. Then we can open our heart. Then we can not give up. Then we can be compassionate to others and make a difference.